I didn't know that the world that I lived in was not going to give me what I wanted. It took me coming here and quite literally being in the middle of the Ganga Aarti and going, oh, this is happiness. How do we get out of being stuck in the material world and onto our spiritual path? Honestly, you have to really want what spirituality has to offer. And the dilemma is that a lot of us want it, but we don't really want it. If you have ever worked with people with addictions, or you've ever known anyone with an addiction, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, the only real way to come out of an addiction is to actively want to be free of the addiction, to want to stop smoking. If you say things like, I know I should quit, but I know it's bad for me, but that's the mind that still wants to keep doing it, but then there's this conscience that says, you know, you really should quit. So you want to quit, but you don't actually want to quit. You're never going to quit in a situation like that. Because the desire to smoke or to drink or to use drugs is much more powerful than the conscience going, you really should quit. And that's why it takes so much. Sometimes a really scary diagnosis, sometimes a loved one essentially begging with you, pleading with you, maybe a child, Dad, stop smoking. But it takes a lot to actually make you want to quit. And the same thing is true with our attachment to the material world. You can think about it kind of like an addiction. It's not exactly, but it's similar. We are wrapped up in it. We've got this voice back here that goes, this isn't the real thing. You really should be meditating. But really what we want to be doing is watching TV and eating pizza. And it's very hard to overcome what we want to do just because there's a little voice saying, you know, you really should meditate. It's going to be about as effective as the voice saying, you know, you really should quit smoking. The only real way to free yourself from the material world into a spiritual life is when you really want to. When on a deep level, you've essentially hit bottom and you've said, I've seen it all, I've done it. Or I've seen enough, I've done enough. I know that happiness is not in this. And maybe I haven't seen it in my life, but maybe I've seen it in my parents, in my community. Not every single person has to stick a wet finger into a socket for us to believe that you could get electrocuted. Sometimes watching somebody else do it, in person or on a video or in a picture, or even just the mental image is enough. We don't need to do it ourselves. But you have to be deeply convinced that this material world you're wrapped up in is not the answer to what you want. Because as long as you are filled with those desires, those aversions, that greed, that lust, just one more time, you're never going to be able to get out. That's why teachings around vairagya, around our swadhyay, self-study, these are the practices that really take us deep within and say, where are you going? You know, Puja Swamiji was speaking in the Aarti tonight about going on Facebook is fine, but make sure that you face your own book. Why? Because if we don't face our own book, then we just get dragged along. So to shift, you've got to really realize isme hai nahi kuch. Jiske liye main dhoond raha hu, hai nahi usme. And you've got to believe it. Because if you think just a little more money, just another girl, just a new car, then you're going to get stuck in that. And this is where a practice of meditation, of yoga, of japa is so powerful, because it can give you a taste of that happiness, of that peace, of that fulfillment that we're looking for in external things. But it's not going to happen just by wishing it's going to happen. It comes when you actually start working it. So number one, really introspect. Ask yourself, what am I getting from this material world? What is it giving me? Am I happier at the end of the day because I have more money? Because I have a new car? Am I deeply happier? Ask yourself that. Really go within. Does that new shirt really bring me peace and joy? Because only you can tell yourself the answer. I can tell you no, but it's not going to be convincing. You've got to tell yourself no. And then give yourself opportunities to have experiences through meditation, through yoga, through things like Aarti or group kirtan or japa or prayer or spiritual pilgrimage, going to holy places, being in the presence of holy people, in such a way that you actually have an experience of, oh, I mean, that's what happened to me. I didn't know that the world that I lived in was not going to give me what I wanted. It took me coming here and quite literally being in the middle of the Ganga Aarti and going, oh, this is happiness. Oh my God, all that stuff that we thought was happiness, like it wasn't really happiness. But it took having an experience of what happiness really was to be able to look back and say, oh my God, we thought we were happy, but we weren't. Or at least we weren't on a deep, sustainable level. So number one, introspection, swadhyay, study of the self, your life, facing that book. Number two, giving yourself opportunities to deeply experience the power of really what you are looking for in life. And then the third is discipline. Once you know on a deep level that that's where you want to go, it still requires discipline. It still requires going against the sanskaras that have already been laid, dragging your body out of bed in the morning, making it sit to meditate, at least for the beginning. Not forever, but for the beginning. You gotta do it. You drag yourself up. You set the alarm, you put the clock or the phone on the other side of the room, so you gotta get out of bed to turn it off. Discipline. That's the abhyasa. The practice, the practice, the practice. So bring all three of those in together, and I think you'll find that you're walking quite nicely on the spiritual path.